Yes, people, of course, quite a lot of noise in the studio. Of course, the people are talking because they are so amazed that a young man could, of course, come on this set on the corridor transformation and be so, of course, plain, be so vivid, be so what I consider to be graphic, and at the same time very articulate in terms of the issues of the day and those concerning the young people. So of course this is the second edition. My apology for the break in transmission earlier. It means therefore all we will have is two programs for the night, that's all. Of course we will conclude at 10 o'clock as per usual, but I want of course the young man to continue with his concern, with respect of course as to why the young people are gravitating and have come out at this time for the 2025 April 28th general elections. I mean, it is just fantastic. And I mean, to me, who have been, of course, in this vineyard for so long, I think it is music to my ears. So I'm going to, of course, forego all of the formalities and get back to this young man. He's going to give his name again, and then, of course, he will continue from where he left off. During the course of the break, he talked about where he went to school, and of course that he would have been a target simply because on the basis of address. On the basis of address. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead, my friend.
It was hard growing up for us because just simply the places that you were born, the places that you came from, these are the things that made it a stigma, that made it stigmatized, that made it hard for you to yourself get a work. We are asking that because we are fed up of promises that is nothing is being done, promises where there are no more, where there are no
Opportunities.
no more opportunities. Promises that yes, houses will be built, schools will be built, hospitals will be built, jobs will be given, and jobs was never given. Jobs is hard. Jobs is hard to get. We in our own country cannot get works, and other people from other countries is coming and taking our works. We are asking for work, and they say you need 5 passes to even pack a bag in a grocery, which is making it hard for us. There are those there are those in the youth that was never able to go to school and get a proper education. Those that was never bookwise, trade work, carpentry, AC, music. These things is things that we are asking for and we are not getting. And he was never getting under the PNM administration. So we know for a fact that we got it under the UNC administration, and that is why we brought Auntie Kamala back into power. They say when Auntie Kamala wins, everybody wins. I say when Auntie Kamala wins, everybody wins. Because when PNM wins, nobody wins. When PNM wins, no one wins. There's always struggle and problems to the poor black man. There's always struggle and problems to the poor black woman. How short young could come and say you know about being poor when you grew up under the 1%, when you grew up under niceness? How can you come and say that you know about being with us, you know about our lives, when you never stepped foot day one in our community? When the UNC administration and the UNC representatives are the ones that is coming in our community and finding out what is the problem. When under the PNM administration, not even a foot is being laid, not even self-assistance is being given to those mothers who can't even help themselves, fathers who can't help themselves, not even self-assistance to anyone that can't help themselves. But under the administration of the UNC, everyone wins, and that is why we have given Auntie Kamala back the power that she deserves, the power that she rightfully won, and the power that belongs to her and the UNC, and may the UNC will always win once we continue to get positive reactions and positive outcomes after every election, after every 5 years. We want to be able to say when UNC wins, everybody wins.
Wow, 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 wow. I mean, that is fantastic. And let us put it in perspective, people. This evening, when I came back from, of course, attending the inauguration of the Prime Minister, the formalized, providing her with the instrument of the office, I met a lady who was bellowing the top of her voice. She wants, of course, a pair of crutches for a patient in the hospital. She would take a walker if it's necessary. She will take, of course, a wheelchair if it's necessary. And we had a brand new wheelchair in the building today. And I told her immediately, your problem is solved. Here is the wheelchair. And she took it and she was in all praises. Why am I mentioning that against the background of what this young man has just said? In other words, a person like myself will work tirelessly because of my historical antecedent in the area of satisfying the social, economic, and of course the amelioration of people's circumstance, particularly when they are part of the downtrodden and the poor. And so when I heard her cry, I had no choice. I said, I'm going to get another one because it was carried for another person. And I gave it to her without any kind of documentation, any kind of fanfare, and she was all in praise. And guess what? She said exactly what this young man has said, because she asked me, well, who are you? I could say that I am Jesus Christ, obviously. Because for her, I came like Jesus Christ because I delivered, and of course I responded to her cry, because she never expected that on George Street, near Nelson Street, and that of course such a fulfillment will materialize. But I told her immediately, I have a wheelchair upstairs and I'm going to bring it for you. And she was almost in amazement, and she was in disbelief, and she followed me to the gate. And then of course, when I brought it downstairs, and she said, Mister, who are you? And I said, well, I am Lennox Smith. And what is that, of course? I said, UNC. She said, you see the same thing I said? UNC will deliver. You will see people are people-centered. UNC people are sensitive to the downtrodden and the poor and those who may be in a fit of extreme or mild or otherwise problems, and therefore to deliver. I said all that to say, and I've said it before, that I prefer to work for free under Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the UNC, than to work for Rowley and they, because I know that they were opportunistic politics. And notice I say were, because they are now past tense, but we have to be able to know where we come from in order to know where we are and where we are going. And we know we don't want, of course, to repeat or a repetition of that of Rowley and his Maroon bunch of opportunistic political parasites. That's the point I am making. And therefore, there are programs that we are going to be unfolding tonight. Of course, I promised last night that we will, of course, look at solutions. And I think that is a quintessential, a very potent, a very poignant example of solutions. Because here it is. I didn't know her. She was bellowing in the wilderness. If you can say, if you can, of course, make such a term in a place that is a concrete jungle, very densely populated, but here it is. Her cry was answered with a wheelchair, and she simply took it, put it in her car trunk, and of course, without any questions asked. And she just told me, well, listen, the man is in the hospital, and of course, he's suffering from some chronic ailment that would inhibit his ability to be mobile, and the wheelchair will be a massive improvement for his dignity and his independence and his, of course, ability to move around. So the young man is so true. And of course, as I said, we just came from. Don't forget, of course, let me just say that the lines are open. I don't know if anybody by now would have been, of course, calling. My apology for the earlier break in transmission, but the lines are open. I know that I got some calls before the start of the program, so I don't know if people, and of course, just call to find out, let us find out whether or not you are, of course, receiving a good transmission. But the point here is very important, as of course we ask him, of course, to make his departing comment as we bring in, of course, on set our resident, that's a businessman who, of course, is part and parcel of creating, of course, solutions to the problem, because by being a businessman alone, thank you, is, of course, an asset to a community like this. And I like what the young man said. He said that of course, the people are prepared, of course, to deliver. He has never seen, in other words, people coming so close to the problem and knowing what the problem is and therefore looking for solutions. I'm certain that they never thought that on George Street, 8 o'clock in the night, a program like this will be, of course, dedicated to them, and for them to air their views and to let the world know that they are not all that bad. But they want, of course, just as every human being, food, shelter, clothing. And in order to get that, you have to have a job. And therefore, Kamala Prasad, Mr. the UNC have already said 50,000 jobs. They bring it back, of course, on stream of the petroleum or refinery in itself is, of course, representation of the ability, or put another way, the prospects of jobs. And of course, in these parts, because it is a concrete jungle, you have to have a different approach to generating jobs. And what are they? The buildings are to be rehabilitated, so therefore we need, of course, to get painters and persons who are masons and plumbers, etc., in order to rehabilitate. We have, of course, the roads are being, of course, have deteriorated to the point where potholes are here, there, and everywhere, and therefore that represents jobs. The